Hallo allemaal and welcome to this week's episode of TulipTV. Today we are in the Olympic Village. And did you know that this didn't used to always be developed? It used to be the industrial heartland of Vancouver. In the 50s, this place was full of sawmills, port operations. It was quite toxic and even smelly. Then in the 70s, things started to change. The seawall was developed, some houses were being built, and finally, Granville Island was being made. Then in the 80s, we had Expo 86, and after that, condominiums were built all on the north side of False Creek, which turned into Yaletown. And then for the Winter Olympics of 2010, this Olympic Village was built to house the athletes from all over the world. It is quite a lovely village these days. There is parks everywhere, there is bicycle routes, retail shops, and beautiful condominiums. And did you know that these condominiums are considered one of the greenest in the world? They have green roofs and are heated by solar heating. So you see, things change from industrial to urban development. And here's what's coming up on the show this week.
This program is sponsored by Dutch, the full-color English language magazine about the Netherlands and its people, at home and abroad. Canada to Leave is the online community for the Dutch living in Canada and the Canadians living in the Netherlands. Canada to Leave, wherever you live.
You probably recognize me from presenting the TulipTV episodes. And today we're here in my studio because I'm also a visual artist. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about my art. The reason we're filming today is my art is different because every piece of art that I sell, I donate 10% of the sale price to the Cancer Society. The reason for that being is I'm a survivor myself, so I'd like to support it. And that whole experience is one of the reasons, of course, while I'm painting. I used to be a corporate kind of a girl working in the corporate world. And 3 years ago, I finally decided life was too short and I've always wanted to paint and I wanted to follow my passion, which is, apart from travel, is painting. I'm having a show in a couple of weeks in October 18th. It's on Granville Island and it's all about the earth. A lot of my pieces reflect impressions that I had during my travels of the earth. And this is an example of these paintings up here where you look down on the earth. It's kind of like a bird's eye view, and we hear so much about global warming and about the changes in climate, and all these things have really affected my painting in the last year. There are some pieces that are actually realist, abstract. They're not entirely abstract, because I was very much moved by the Japanese earthquake, the tsunami that they had, and I have a couple of pieces that are solely about that Japanese tsunami, and they show the nuclear reactors, the disaster of that, and they show the big wave and all the damage and all these things that are floating in the ocean right now, and that we have no idea where it's gonna, well, we know where it's probably gonna land, but when it's gonna land and what type of impact that's going to have on our land. So these are the kind of things that also very much influence my paintings, and the Earth Show is partially about that. And then of course it's also my impression of the Earth, and from my travels, what I've seen and how it made me feel, and some of the abstracts portray that. So there's some very warm, hot pieces. It was warm colors and bright colors that are for my travels to very warm countries and hot countries and the deserts and the dryness and the drought that I've seen. And then others are very influenced by water and what's happening in the oceans these days. So that's kind of what the show is about in October. Sometimes one of these things goes really fast. Other times I could be working for weeks on a piece like this. And I'll do a little bit of this, and then a little bit of that, and then I work on another piece for a while. So somebody was asking me how long it takes to do a piece like this. It can be like weeks, and some of them are done maybe in a couple of days. It all depends on where the energy is and what's going on and how the emotions are and how the colors work. Sometimes a painting doesn't work at all and you start all over again, and all of a sudden a wonderful other painting comes out of it. I'm sure those of you who are an artist can relate to this very well. I use wood panels. I prefer to work on wood panels because I like to use knives and pellet knives so you can really push on it. If I did that on a canvas, I probably would end up cutting it and making a hole in it. So 99% of my work's all on wood panel. I use mainly acrylic paint. It's much healthier to use. I don't really like working with oil because it's very toxic, and I share my studio with another artist, and we both really like to think about each other's health, so we try to prevent oil. I do use oil occasionally, but it's a water-soluble oil, hard word to say for Dutchie. But it basically means you can dissolve it with water, so it's still an oil paint, but you can use water with it. Most pieces, the name comes at the end. Some of them I'm painting and I'm right in the beginning, and I know. I have a piece that's called Storm, and that one, when I started painting it, I immediately knew that's what that painting was going to be called. This one, there's no final name. I'm thinking about it. I usually have to wait till the painting is finished. At one point it tells me it's done, and then miraculously most of the time the name comes. Sometimes it takes a while.
So ever thought of digitalizing the different phases of the piece?
Yes, a lot of artists do that. Personally, I don't. I feel it's cheating. I think it needs to come from the heart and it needs to come from the soul. But I know there's a lot of artists who do that, and it's definitely tempting because these days you can do so much in Photoshop, and you can play and add colors to your art and see if it works, and you would save a lot of paint doing it that way.
But not only that, but digitalizing in terms of catching the moment of where the painting was at that point. So in case you over-art it, you at least can look back 5 years. 5 years ago, the painting looked different.
Definitely, I do that sometimes because I photograph my art when I think it's finished, and I've had it that I photographed it and got about ready to put it on my website or in a show, and all of a sudden I look at the photograph and I go, oh no, it needs this or it needs that, and so back it goes on the easel, and I restart it. And there's a couple of paintings on the wall over there that I probably have 3 or 4 stages of that painting. And there's some that you won't even recognize anymore, because when I had that moment, I totally changed the painting. And for me, painting is a way to be bold, courageous, to kind of let go of my daily emotions of this amazing journey of life. So it can change with the day, the mood, the emotion, and that's the life of the artist, I think, in a nutshell. If you'd like to know a little bit more of the show, you can go to my website, which is www.barbaraarnoldart.com, and all the details are there, where it is, what time.
This program is sponsored by Dutch, the full-color English language magazine about the Netherlands and its people, at home and abroad.
Hi, my name is Ellen Dimon, and I would very much invite you into my home, and my husband's home, of course, and into our garden. We have lived here for the last 25 years and bought this little house when it was in complete chaos. We first started to fix up the house, renovate the house, and then we started the garden. It's taken us well of 25 years to get it exactly where we like, and at this point we're pretty satisfied. I think the initial idea of the garden was for me to transform it and bring in a little bit of my Dutch heritage. So the front yard has definitely those particular Dutch features that I always have admired from Dutch gardening. And then the backyard, I have changed more or less, or actually implemented sort of the cottage style gardening, because that is what the house dictated, since it is an old English cottage that was built around 1940. We have both been working extremely hard to create what we have today, but it is an ongoing endeavor. So essentially we work in the garden certainly once a week, a couple of hours, plus now for the last couple of years I do have help. So once a week I have a young woman come in to help me with weeding or some general cleanup or spitting around the compost. Okay, well, my initial interest in gardening started as a very young child. My grandparents in Holland, in The Hague, had a lovely urban garden, and I've always admired their garden style, and as a child I thought when I grow up I would like to have a garden. So at this point I would like to invite you all to come and have a look and spend a couple of minutes and have a look at my garden. So just what I want to show you as in regards to the Dutch influence of the gardening. When you go to Holland, quite a few private gardens, you see this particular look where you have boxwood beds with a center pot with annuals or roses or whatever, and some lavender. And then in Holland they use an awful lot of pebbles in their yard so that they don't have to mow the lawn. So we really don't like mowing. We like grass, but it has to be a little bigger. So this is my Dutch influence in the front yard here. My favorite shrubs are hydrangeas. When I plant hydrangeas, I'd like to plant them in a mass effort, meaning 2 or 3 together, so that you get one particular look, which is, it quiets down the garden and it gives more of a statement rather than one in blue and one in pink and one in red. It becomes a little busy. At least that is what I feel that this particular garden, this house needs, because you have to kind of build your garden towards the style and the look of your house. So I created a cottage garden with a Dutch influence. I'm a great believer in composting. I have 3 large compost bins. So we add compost every year. As a consequence, I don't have many bugs, I don't have any slugs, because everything is healthy. Now we are in our backyard, as you can see. Again, there's a little bit of a Dutch influence here. Again, with a lot of boxwood. I have repeated a lot of my plants, as in the hydrangeas. In total, I have about 36 hydrangeas in the front and combined and in the back. They give me lots of color for the whole season, early May, June, July, August, well into September. We're lucky that we have good neighbors in as much as to their gardening. One of them on the left is bordered onto the creek, so I have borrowed landscape. We have removed quite a lot of large trees so that we have opened up the garden to his landscape, as I call it, borrowed landscape. So I have a feeling that we actually live in a park and we live right downtown. When there are bare spots, I have a trick, and that is to have pots on hand. So I have pots with annuals in it that come out of the greenhouse, and I put them onto little tables or pedestals just to create interest into the beds overall, so that there are no holes and big empty spaces. Well, we're standing here in front of one of my favorite perennials, which was actually introduced by Piet Oudolf in Holland, and it's called Persicaria. There are many different varieties, of course, but this is one of my favorite varieties. He has used this perennial in New York, in Chicago, in major public gardens. So this is a long bloomer. This has been in bloom since June, July, August, well into September. So fantastic perennial. Here we have the largest perennial in perennial world, which is called Joe Pieweed, and I have of course cut it up and transplanted it to other parts of the garden. Okay, what you see here was not too long ago leaf, grass, kitchen, and a little bit of compost from this compost bin, so that we throw it on here and then we fork it over. And this is since February, so this is not very long ago. And this is pure, look at it. It's black soil. I call it black gold. It's absolutely phenomenal. And this is done by worms, just wriggly worms. We are so in awe of composting every year. 40 years of gardening, 40 years of composting. Every year at the end of the year I say, how is this possible? So I'll get the buggy. So this is my composting equipment. And then I put this thing on. I just take the compost and I put the compost in my bowl and I shovel it around. And of course the sticks stay at the top, and I put those in a pail, right? So they all go in the pail, and then that will be discarded. In the meantime, I have beautiful black soil left. You may have wondered why I don't have too many roses. Well, roses basically here on the North Shore are not very happy, because we have a soil that just doesn't do well for roses. You have to always add lime, and a handful of lime of soil that has been here for 3 million years is just not going to work that well. You need to constantly amend, and I think that's just too much work. If you cross, of course, go to Kerrisdale or Shaughnessy, or there you'll see roses, because the soil is of a different texture and it's of a different acidic type, or not type. It's just different. It's probably more. We have more acidic soil here than you have on the other side of Vancouver. So roses aren't happy here. Well, thank you very much for having spent a couple of minutes in my garden. It's been a great pleasure, and I would say to all of you, happy composting. See you later.
This program is sponsored by Dutch, the full-color English language magazine about the Netherlands and its people, at home and abroad. Canada to Leave is the online community for the Dutch living in Canada and the Canadians living in the Netherlands. Canada to Leave, wherever you live.
We're interviewing Mark Malkoff. We're very excited about your new series on TulipTV, but introduce yourself first to our audience. Who are you actually? Who is Mark Malkoff?
I'm a comedian, filmmaker. I do larger-than-life video projects. So yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. And how did you come up with this series, 101 Things to Do in Holland? It's a difficult title for me.
Sure. Well, the tourism board of the Netherlands here in New York City approached me, and they said, would it be okay if we send you to Holland to make videos? And I said, when do I leave?
Of course. So, did you have a long research phase, or did you just jump in the airplane and go? And
it was pretty quick. Normally when somebody approaches me about making videos, sometimes it takes up to 3 even longer months. I mean, it takes forever. I think they gave me like 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks. It was wonderful. Everything moved very quickly. I had to throw a team together, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I was a little bit nervous. I started doing research and got excited, and it was seriously one of the coolest 10 days of my life.
Super. Now, did you have any Dutch connections, any Dutch family members or something like that?
One of my best friends goes over there for business. He had been there he lived there, so he still goes over there all the time. So I talked to him a lot. I talked to a couple of my other friends that have vacationed over there. Everyone only had good things to say about how friendly everybody was in Holland, and they would tell me things that I should do. So yeah, it was just two quick weeks of research, and I kind of just jumped in.
And how did you find the cliches? Did you get them from I don't know, watching videos about Holland, or you probably already had some cliches in your head?
A little bit like the clogs and the windmills, and maybe raw herring. So I mean, I knew that I would maybe see a lot of that, like in the clogs and the tourist shops, but I really wanted the authentic, real thing, and that's when I kind of started just doing research and seeing what the locals are into, and I was not disappointed.
How many videos are we actually talking about? Is it 101 videos, or?
Oh man, that would have been a challenge. We did, I believe, 19 videos chronicling 101 other things to do in Holland, and I'm really proud of the videos. We did a lot of traditional things, such as I went to the Van Gogh Museum, which is just the most amazing museum. And then we did more kind of odd, obscure things along the way.
This program is sponsored by Dutch, the full-color English language magazine about the Netherlands and its people, at home and abroad.
We hoped you enjoyed our show today. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And remember, we are independently produced, so we rely solely on support and donations from viewers like you. You can go to our website and click on donate if you'd like to support us. We hope you will watch us again next week, and thank you for watching on behalf of everybody here at TulipTV. Tot ziens en tot de volgende keer. See you next time.